Welcome to the WCC Weekly here on Gonzaga Nation SI, where each week we take a quick recap of the previous games, usually on a Thursday, Saturday slate, and then we look forward to the week ahead with the games that are set to play on the upcoming Thursday, Saturday. If you've been a follower of Gonzaga Nation SI since we've started, appreciate the follow. Appreciate you guys checking out all the content that myself, Adam Morrison, and the rest of our team are providing. Please follow us on all social media platforms. Our social media director will be upset if I don't mention that. So YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, probably TikTok. I have no idea what else I may be out there forgetting, but follow us on social media channels. We've got a number of new offerings that we will be sharing in the upcoming week or two. But as I mentioned, WCC Weekly is here, is now. Usually, it's going to be a lot more in depth than what today's is. And the reason this episode is not in depth is the fact that if you follow college hoops, if you follow sports, if you just follow the news cycle in general, you understand that games are getting canceled and or postponed left and right. And then WCC, no different. No different. Every single game that was scheduled to start WCC league play, and that would have been December 30th, as well as New Year's Day, January 1st, was canceled on the men's and women's side. What does that mean? Well, that means the coronavirus is surging throughout the different college basketball programs. I've talked to a number of coaches off the record over the last few days, and they don't take this lightly, but what they do want to see is a little bit more, maybe not consistency is the right word, but a little bit more ability to listen or see what truly is going on symptomatically with their student athletes. Just because a guy has a cough, you go test, and all of a sudden, two guys who are asymptomatic pop a positive test, game's off. And so, coaches are questioning, coaches are asking quietly behind the scenes, what's next? What do we need to do to get this season back on track? What do we need to do to not start going down the rabbit hole, the spiral of losing, missing games, and before you know it, you miss 5, 6, 7 games. So questions are being asked behind the scenes. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more clarity and a little bit more direction and guidance, both league-wise in the WCC as well as other leagues, as well as program-wise. But, there are some positives, I guess you could say, in the fact that so many games were canceled and it's affected so many teams, is that it's not just a one-off. It's that all these teams, all these leagues are going to have to work together hand in hand to figure out how to reschedule these and be ready to go with as many games played before the postseason begins. So like I said, I was looking forward to a great first week, but instead every single game was postponed. Now what you have is you have the frustration and having to figure out the rescheduling of games. Just obviously, I'll take Gonzaga, for example. Gonzaga was going to play at USD December 30th and at Loyola Marymount January 1st. So that was their Southern California swing that makes things easy. The other three or four games into California are closer in geographical location when you're talking St. Mary's, San Francisco, Santa Clara, and Stockton. Those are all really within driving distance of each other in about an hour and a half, 2-hour radius. But when you're looking at Gonzaga having to postpone or reschedule those two games, those are road games where now all of a sudden Gonzaga has to get on a plane, get fly. Yes, they fly charter, which not every school in the league is able to do, but you're talking about potentially days off of school. When you look at the calendar and you see that the games are typically Thursday, Saturday, as they've been in the league for a number of years, how are you going to fit this in? I think what you're going to see is you're going to start seeing games added on Mondays. You're going to see games starting added on Tuesdays. When does this begin? It's all kind of hard to say. I think there's going to be a couple weeks where this starts to, the coronavirus postponements are going to kind of flush themselves out. I would imagine in about 2.5, 3 weeks, you're going to start seeing a little bit of reshuffling of the deck with the schedule. Now, that's not as easy as a lot of people might think. Like I said, Gonzaga's got a leg up in regards to the charter being able to go. But if you're talking about a University of Portland getting down to one of these possible road games that might have been postponed, you're talking about a whole different beast because you got to get commercial flights, you got to get so many things lined up and on board. So the coaches and the ads and the commissioner will figure it out and work what's best and equitable for the conference. I know a lot of other conferences have adjusted their stance on if you've got if you're the team that causes the postponement, you would get a forfeit. Now, other leagues are changing their policy. I apologize, I haven't seen what the updated policy is for the WCC, but I would hope that would be the case because that would really be a shame if, because of the timing of a postponement, because of a test or two, you would lose a game because of that. That to me would not be good. The other thing to consider when you're talking about the rescheduling of all these games is the television contracts. Obviously, Gonzaga is a huge driver and a player for ESPN. If you look at ESPN's coverage of the West Coast Conference, it is Gonzaga heavy, followed by BYU, followed by St. Mary's, and rightfully so. But with that, you're going to have to bring the network involved in the conversation of when those games are scheduled and if they can be put back on TV. I know for a fact, with our TV regional crew, KHQ here in Spokane, where myself, Richard Fox, Greg Heister do the games. When the schedule comes out, it's a pecking order essentially. ESPN takes their pick, and then the next region television partners get a chance to look at the games and see what they want. I know CBS Sports Network, who I work games for, has 2 Gonzaga games on their schedule the rest of the season. I'm calling one of those January 27th at home against Loyola Marymount. And then it's a trickle down from there where KHQ picks it up, and then we get the assignment for those games. But it'll be interesting to see if any of the games being reshuffled leads to changes in who the television partner is for that game. And that could then also lead to changes in tip time. So very interesting stuff to keep an eye out on. When you look back this past week, the biggest games the biggest game in the league to me that got canceled that I was really looking forward to seeing was St. Mary's at San Francisco. I think that was the one where we were going to really get a true feel for, is San Francisco for real? Is St. Mary's what they've been in the past as far as, a very good player in the WCC? And USF has gotten off to an incredible start. They were receiving votes. I believe they still are receiving votes in the top 25. Todd Golden's done a really good job. Jamari Bouye scoring the heck out of the ball. Masalski has done a nice job. Shabazz has struggled and been a little bit inconsistent at times, but he's an aggressive scorer. He's going to have a couple games in the WCC where he's going to be in the 20-plus point range. Might even give you a 30-point game or two here or there. But I really like that San Francisco squad, and I think this was going to be an opportunity to kind of put their stamp early on in the WCC, because, like I said, St. Mary's has kind of been there for the last 17, 18 years under Randy Bennett. But on the flip side, for St. Mary's, this was a chance for them to basically say, we're still St. Mary's, we're still that top 3 echelon in the WCC. We're going to go on the road and we're going to win one early and kind of set the tone for anybody who thinks they're going to climb up into that top three echelon of the league. But St. Mary's, you're looking at Matthias Toss. He's really improved. He's healthy this year. Fotu's playing well. Kuzi's crazy to think he's still there. And then Augustus Marshallonis, the son of Sharonis Marshallonis, the freshman, is starting to really play well. His numbers don't jump out at you, but when you watch some clips here or there, you're impressed with the aggressiveness. You're impressed with his feel for the game and his IQ, and it shows because of who his dad was. And I'm sure there was lots of basketball conversations going on in that household. But that was the big game that I was looking forward to watching last week. The game I'm looking forward to seeing this upcoming week, if they're played. And I'm hearing rumblings already that a couple games are going to be postponed. They just haven't been announced yet because got to work through all the protocols and figure those out. But the two I'm looking forward to, a game that I'm calling on Thursday, we're supposed to be calling on Thursday, USF, who I just talked about, at Gonzaga. Because that St. Mary's game for USF was canceled, this is now a chance for USF to kind of make their entrance into the league and really say, hey, we are good. Or on the flip side, if they struggle against Gonzaga, you got a chance to say, well, they had a nice non-conference run. We'll see how it plays out. But if you look at the numbers, USF is like 32, I believe, in KenPom. I believe they're 35 in the net. So those numbers, through 13, 14, 15 games, whatever it may be, you're about a halfway point. So those numbers typically hold fairly true the rest of the season, unless you hit a major skid, a major slide, which I don't expect to see from them. The other game I'm looking forward to this week, and I hope it goes, is St. Mary's at Santa Clara. Santa Clara, to me, they're a good team. Can they crack that top four? Can they kind of beat out USF and St. Mary's and BYU to maybe get in that number two conversation? I don't know. It's hard to say. Herb Sendik's a terrific coach. He's taken a number of different teams to the NCAA tournament. He would love to do that here at Santa Clara. I think that's a tall task. I believe they sit at 10-5 right now. They've got the conference's leading scorer in Jalen Williams, who continues to improve. Long, lanky, athletic wing who's skilled, who's shown the ability to shoot it a little bit now. He's putting the ball in pick and roll situations and making the right plays. Josip Brankic is back as a super senior. His offseason hip surgery is past him. He's had a couple games that he's missed due to injury, but all in all, you put him on the floor with his experience, his skill level, he's going to be a factor in the game. But the St. Mary's at Santa Clara game is definitely one to look out for. If Santa Clara can take care of business on their home court, now you're talking about, I don't think they're an NCAA tournament team based off of KenPom, based off of net, but I think you're starting to really make the conference really interesting. And then if that's the case and they win, now you're talking about the depth that I've talked about the WCC for quite some time really being shown. So those are a couple things to look out for, a couple things to be excited about. Those are two games that caught my eye with the schedule this week. Fingers crossed they both get played. If not, as I mentioned before, coaches, ADs, they're going to have to get creative in figuring out how to reschedule these games, because I know the kids want to play. I know the fans want to see it, and we'll see what other possible guidelines, restrictions, whatever you want to call them, may be placed in the near future on getting this season back up and rolling the way it was in November and early December. So appreciate you listening. Again, check out all the Gonzaga Nation SI social media channels, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I'm sure we're on it. So for Gonzaga Nation SI, we'll see you next week. I'm Dan Dickau.